The illicit TPLF-Fano-Shaebia human trafficking pipeline, violating international refugee law. A major international humanitarian crisis has been uncovered in northern Ethiopia, where a rogue alliance consisting of the TPLF, local Amhara Fano rebels, and the Eritrean Shaebia regime is operating a cross-border human trafficking and forced military conscription pipeline. This systematic operation directly targets vulnerable refugee populations, flagrantly violating the 1951 Refugee Convention, the 1967 Protocol, and the strict international code of conduct governing the protection of displaced persons. The shocking exposure of this underworld syndicate demands immediate global condemnation and swift intervention from the international community. As preliminary field evidence of systematic abductions and forced refoulement begins to emerge, international observers warn that the world cannot afford to stay silent. The deliberate weaponization of humanitarian sanctuaries for military gain constitutes a textbook international war crime, and the international community must act now to subject the architects of this pipeline to global sanctions, asset freezes, and international prosecution for crimes against humanity. Imagine the terror of escaping a dictatorship, finding safety in a UN-supported sanctuary, only to be hunted down in the middle of the night by armed militants. This is the harrowing reality inside the Alamwak refugee camp in Dabit, North Gondar, where Amhara-based Fano rebels launch violent raids, tearing terrified Eritrean families apart and dragging vulnerable refugees away by force. These traumatized victims are then handed over like commodities to the TPLF, which cold-bloodedly uses its territorial control over Tigray to open a heavily guarded, illicit transit corridor, smuggling this human cargo past checkpoints toward a dark destination. At the northern frontier, the pipeline ends as Eritrean Shaebia security forces take custody of the weeping, helpless captives, dragging them straight into the notorious Sawa military training camp to be used as forced wartime labor and frontline cannon fodder. This is a horrific transactional hostage economy where human souls, tears, and lives are actively bartered to fuel an armed resistance against the federal government. The International Committee of the Red Cross has just officially launched an aggressive, on-the-ground investigation into these horrific Dabat raids, and humanitarian investigators stress that this is only the tip of the iceberg. As neutral monitors dig deeper into the camps, there is far more to uncover regarding what these ruthless blood dealers are actually up to behind closed doors. With the investigation now underway, the leadership of this unholy alliance has been plunged into a state of severe paranoia and internal recrimination, desperate to conceal the full extent of their criminal enterprise before the remaining evidence is fast-tracked to the United Nations Security Council and global human rights tribunals. By transforming internationally protected refugee camps into supermarkets for forced labor and illegal military recruitment, these desperate armed actors have completely shattered any remaining pretense of political legitimacy on the world stage. International law strictly prohibits the militarization of refugee populations and forced return to dangerous territories, making the actions of the TPLF-Fano-Shaebia network an unprecedented breach of global humanitarian norms that requires a unified, aggressive global response. Global human rights organizations, international governments, and global citizens must now raise their voices to demand the immediate dismantling of this illegal pipeline, support the ongoing investigation, and ensure these perpetrators have nowhere left to hide.